Hey! It's been a couple weeks since I've released any Lost Ark content because I've been having a lot of fun playing Elden Ring. I'd recommend that if you like a very challenging, mostly single-player action RPG. If you do get it, make sure to check out some of the Elden Ring content I've been putting out lately. Anyways, when I last logged off Lost Ark, I had about 7k gold in the bank, as well as a little bit of capital in the form of crafting materials and sellable items. This is my first time coming back and looking at the market conditions in a couple weeks, so I thought I'd walk you through my thought process as I look for a way to invest and grow that 7k gold. I'll also show you how I personally use and think about the master spreadsheet I've released. Be sure to check out those resources if you haven't yet. They're linked in the description. I went back to my stronghold, took a seat in my nice office chair, and opened up a blank version of the master spreadsheet. I started out by looking at my interest list where I have my most frequently used crafting inputs stored. I couldn't remember what prices looked like before my break, so while I did this, I looked at all the statistics the game gives you, paying special attention to the average day price, which is available for the 5 most recent days. By looking at this average day price, I spotted that there were a ton of fresh mushrooms available at a really unusual price, only 5 gold, which was below any of the recent average day prices. This is one of those opportunities where we can leverage our stack of gold to get an advantage. We have plenty of gold, and I don't mind if I end up sitting on these fresh mushrooms for a while, so I bought up all the cheap ones. Moving right along, to get a rough estimate of the profitability of the different items on the spreadsheet, I entered the lowest market price for all these crafting inputs. I entered my crafting fee and crafting time reductions, then entered the lowest prices I saw for the different crafting outputs on the sheet. Let me note here that I'm entering the lowest listed prices, but that for a lot of these items you can usually sell them for higher with a little patience. This lowest available price is just a quick way to get a very conservative estimate. It's basically a worst case scenario for our profits, and we're just using it as a rough starting point while we look at the overall market conditions. I got the data all entered, and I noticed a few options I wanted to consider crafting based on the relatively high profit per hour. These were the panacea, the pheromone bomb, the tool crafting part, and some of the grenades. As I thought about which one to choose, I was interested in 2 things. First, I was interested in the stability of the average price across the past 5 days. This is because it is going to take me a few hours to do these crafting actions, and I don't want to have the price decline before I'm able to craft and sell everything. Prices for all of these looked pretty stable across the past 5 days, so I was confident they wouldn't decline in the few hours it took me to craft them. The other piece of information I was interested in was the approximate size of the market. What I would ideally want to know is the total number of items that are actually sold in a day. Generally speaking, the larger the market, the easier it will be to sell the items. For example, if a given item sells 5,000 times in a day, if I list 50 of that item, I'm only attempting to capture 1% of the market, and if I have the cheapest listing, I'll probably be able to sell those items in just a few minutes. On the other hand, if I list 2,500 of that item, I'm trying to capture half of the day's market, and that means we would estimate the items would be sitting on the market for something like 12 hours, which will give other players a long window to undercut me and move the price so my sales don't even go through. Again, as a general rule, the larger the market, the more volume you can expect to successfully sell. Unfortunately, Lost Ark does not directly tell us the size of the market, so the best we can do is try to make an educated guess based on our observations. As a rule of thumb, a larger number of active listings usually indicates a larger market, so seeing that a lot of other players are attempting to sell a particular item can be a very good sign. On the other hand, if there are not many of the item listed, it can indicate that the market is very small and not many people are interested in buying that item. So, if you make a big batch of them, it will probably take a long time to sell them all, and even worse, the price can easily drop when the supply outpaces the demand. Toward the end of this market exploration, I realized I had 130 tool crafting parts on me that I had crafted the last time I played a couple weeks ago. I checked the profitability and found that I would make a profit on those if I sold them for at least 13 gold, which was actually much cheaper than the current listings. I had also checked the listings a few times in this period, and I could tell they were being bought up quickly, which indicates a large active market. So, I was perfectly happy to match the lowest price at 16 gold, knowing that based on the average day price across the previous 5 days, these would be very likely to sell. And let me just mention that my prediction came true. In the remaining 30 minutes it took me to finish recording this video, all of the tool crafting parts I listed sold out. This actually gives us another way to estimate the size of this market. When I listed my 130, there were around 200 in front of me in line, also listed at 16 gold, and all of mine, plus all of those listed before mine, sold out within around 30 minutes. So, if we observed that 330 sold in half an hour, we can estimate that the market size is somewhere around 660 per hour, or about 15 to 16,000 per day. Of course, we might have just logged on a particularly busy day or at a particularly busy hour, so we would want to treat that prediction with some caution, but it is one way we can get a reasonable, data-based estimate of the market size. Anyway, after looking at the most profitable options on the spreadsheet, and after looking more closely to estimate the price stability and the market size, I felt like I could make the most money with my 7k by making more tool crafting parts. I bought up enough heavy iron ore, tender timber, strong iron ore, and sturdy timber to make 20 batches of tool crafting parts. Once I had finished this purchasing, I went to the third tab of the spreadsheet to enter these into my inventory ledger. I opened up every piece of mail, and I looked at 3 pieces of information. First, I looked at the total number the piece of mail said I had bought. I converted that into bundles and entered the number of bundles into the number of bundles bought column on the sheet. Next, I looked at the line that said average price, and I entered that into the price per bundle column. Finally, I looked at the total spent column to make sure the number computed by the spreadsheet was the same as the number reported to me in my piece of mail. I entered these 2 numbers for everything I had bought so that the 4th page in the document could summarize for me what I had paid on average for each of the bundles I was currently holding. I took that average price per bundle and I entered it back into the very first sheet in the document so I could precisely compute what it was actually going to cost me to craft these 20 batches of tool crafting parts. Next, I subtracted out all the bundles I had spent from my inventory so my average price per bundle would stay accurate the next time I did some purchasing. Now, we're going to fast forward 10 hours to when I took the tool crafting parts out and actually listed them. I looked at the prices for the active tool crafting part listings, and I saw the lowest listed price was 16, with quite a few more listed at 17, 18, and 19. Selling all of these at 16 makes us a huge profit of around 2.5k, so I decided to list at 16. However, given that the profits were so good at 16, based mostly on inputs I had bought earlier that very same day, I knew someone could easily undercut me to 15 or even lower to 14 or 13 and still be making a profit. So I thought there was a moderate risk of being undercut. On top of that, the current lowest price of 16 was quite a bit higher than the average day prices for the recent 5 days, which were closer to 13 or 14, so I thought there was also a decent chance the price was going to decline. I did not want to end up in a situation where I listed all of my tool crafting parts at 16, then the price declined, and the majority of my capital got stuck sitting idle in the market. So to make a safer, more conservative move, I decided to only list half of them, knowing that if the price declined, I could list the remaining half at a price where they would sell, and that if we got lucky and the price increased, I could also consider listing them higher. At this point, I also queued up some panaceas because I believed them to be a big, active market with a pretty good rate of profit, and because I knew that if there was some weird situation where my tool crafting parts didn't sell, I would still have an opportunity to profit off of this different item in this different market. Let's fast forward again to the end of this crafting queue. We can see here that all the tool crafting parts I listed earlier did sell, and the price has actually started to decline, with the lowest price now at 15 gold. I decided to list my remaining tool crafting parts at 15 as well, feeling pretty optimistic they would sell. Assuming they do sell, our initial investment of 7k into these tool crafting parts will yield us a total profit of around 2.2k. We can also consider that we got lucky and got 60 extra tool crafting parts out of our 20 runs, which are pure profit, bringing the total profit of the investment above 3k, which I think is pretty great. Anyway folks, thanks for sticking around and watching. I hope that me walking you through my thought process on my first day back was helpful. Make sure to check out the resources on the channel, including the spreadsheet I used in this video, and some more introductory videos covering some of these steps and concepts I referred to in this video. Please leave a like if you found the video helpful, and if you're not already, please consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks again for watching, and good luck making some Lost Ark gold.